Alrighty folks, hello there. This is Alan recording another comprehensive Magic of the Gathering Arena draft video. Let's do some more Premier Draft Strixhaven and hopefully try to get out of the dumpster ranking, but it's been really difficult. There's a lot of tryhards in this set like me who are drafting insanely busted decks. So it's definitely hard to face against high level drafters that are at the same skill level as yours. Sometimes the games are just 50-50, but we'll see. And there is variance in draft, of course, but we'll try to make the best picks possible and then draft a really awesome deck at the end of this video. Hopefully we don't have to do another 7-win Silver Quill deck again. Alright, then pack one, pick one, Premier Draft. I was about to say Strixhaven, but we opened up two amazing busted mythics. Haven't played with Hoffrey Ghostforged a lot, but does seem incredibly potent, especially in a dedicated Lorehold Aggro deck. This card's quite good. Day of Judgment's definitely a powerful card. I'd be happy main decking this in any white deck, but typically speaking, white tends to be very aggressive, and having a Wrath effect might not be very good in the same deck, but still a very strong card and a nice switch button. Other great cards include Master Symmetrist, Heated Debate as the best common in this pack, and the best common in general in this entire set, along with Environmental Sciences and Fractal Summoning. I think it's between the mythics here. As much as I like to sometimes stay open with Day of Judgment and take the single color card, which is good, I think the Hoffrey has more upside, and I haven't drafted a synergistic Lorehold deck yet, so this could just be the time to do it. So yeah, we definitely want to just draft straight red, white, Lorehold aggro with this. And unlike most other powerful busted red-white rares, it's not necessarily a great splash in Prismari, since you want to be more creature heavy with the Hoffrey Ghost Forge, and it doesn't care too much about instances and sorceries. But other than that, it is a great card. Following up Hoffrey, if we want to force the red-white deck, we can take a Thunderous Orator, which is great. Can basically take the ability of any creature, which includes creatures with First Strike, Menace, etc., Lifelink. There's also the Quandrix Pledge Mage, but it doesn't go well for first pick. Illustrious Historian is also a fine creature that can become a spirit as well. I think it's between Orator, Illustrious Historian, and Lorehold Pledge Mage here. And I think I just like the good 2-drop here being the Thunderous Orator. Just an above average 2-drop, of course. Nothing special, but if we pick up flyers with this, it's quite good as a 2/2 flyer. If we pick up first strikers like Lorehold Pledge Mage, it also has first strike. So definitely seems to have a lot more upside than the Lorehold and the Illustrious Historian. If Thunderous Orator wasn't in his pack, yeah, I'd probably take the Lorehold Pledge Mage here. But I definitely want to be in red-white aggro with this deck. And yeah, this card is really fun and not something I play with too often. Otherwise, it's just an easy Quandrix Pledge Mage. Ooh, I do like Enthusiastic Study in these red-white aggressive decks. Hall Monitor, even though it's kind of a card you want in the Lorehold aggro deck, still isn't very good, since 2 mana is a lot to keep up to make a creature unable to block. So it's between like First Day of Class and Enthusiastic Study and the Lorehold Campus, and I think the Enthusiastic Study makes sense if we want to be Lorehold aggro. Sometimes just giving a creature the ability, pumping a creature to dish out a ton of damage and learning is great. First Day of Class I'm also not against, but it does just seem weaker than the Enthusiastic Study. But gonna take out the Learn cards here, so the Enthusiastic Study seems good. Best card in this pack, maybe between like Containment Breach, Expel, and Prismari Pledge Mage, but overall it's pretty unexciting anyways. So let's just force red-white aggro if we can. And speaking of red-white aggro, there's a Clever Luminmancer and Defiant Strike, and also another Enthusiastic Study. I usually like 2 copies of Enthusiastic Study, but if I main deck too many, the deck can be quite clunky. That being said, we could just take the Clever Luminmancer. Usually this card is pretty insane in the Silver Quill aggro decks if you have like 3 Guiding Voices, and we can still be in Lorehold with an insane amount of Guiding Voices, and this card can just become completely bonkers and nutty. I think it's better than Defiant Strike. Defiant Strike is also very good in this set too, since there's a lot of ways to trigger Magecraft, but I think the Luminmaster has more upside if we build around it, and if we can pick up some Guiding Voices, it just becomes the nuts. So I think I like it here. Otherwise, yeah, I would probably take Defiant Strike over Enthusiastic Sight. Again, these cards tend to wheel, and you don't want too many copies of these. Best cards in this pack are like Expressive Iteration and the Prismari Apprentice, but we'll take a Clever Answer and try to build around this. Strict Proctor, not a big fan of this. There's a Lorehold Apprentice, which, you know, isn't the best Apprentice, but okay. Reconstruct History, better for the more controlling Lorehold deck, but I think we want to be Lorehold aggro. Defend the Campus, also kind of medium like the Lorehold Apprentice. Yeah, this pack doesn't even seem great. The Pigment Storm is fine, but 5 mana is kind of clunky. Most of our removal will be mostly damage-based pump spells. So it could just take a random Lorehold Apprentice, which is a fine 2-drop. And, you know, has some decent synergy with Spirits. Since you can just tap Spirits and ping opponents whenever you cast Magecraft spells, which isn't great, but still a 2-mana 2/2 seems fine. So we'll take it here. So we're making it happen. Wow, I do like Study Break and Expand Anatomy. Blight Age General is also reasonable, but I think I like both of these spells. And between both of these, I might want my first copy of Expand Anatomy. Usually this is much more scarce than a card like Study Break, which tends to wheel. Definitely, you kind of want to think of this card as Arnville Tactician in that set, whatchamacallit, the Throne of Eldraine, since you can tap 2 target creatures and then put out a Inkling Summoning token the following turn. But Expand Anatomy is going to be great in this Lorehold aggro deck, and I think I need my copy before the Learn card. I think this is at a higher scarcity level that people tend to take. This is also a fine lesson, but one that I'm not too happy about. I think I'll just like the Stonebound Mentor. 3 mana, 3/3 is a solid body. Centaur Courser, basically, and, you know, hits pretty hard. So I'll take it here. And I think I just want to be against straight up red-white. Wow, another Thunderous Orator, but I think it has to be the Combat Professor here. We're not going to be a Cody deck, of course. Second Thunderous Orator would be fine, but, I mean, if we don't have I think the first copy of... now that we have a Thunderous Orator, I want my first copy of Combat Professor, since these are also in high demand. It's the second best white common behind Guiding Voice, and it doesn't tend to wheel or show up in future packs too often. So I think I like the Combat Professor here. And then, I don't really like Stonerise Spear, but this could just be the deck for it, with the whole Spirit synergy. It's okay, but maybe we just want Lorehold Campus. Still kind of low on this card. Like, I'll still try to play it, but I think the Lorehold Campus is still more important as of right now. And then we can easily wheel these Stonerise Spears since they're really not in high demand. So Lorehold aggro. We're doing it, guys. First time, hopefully 7 wins. And I do want a second copy of Enthusiastic Sight. Third copy, again, gets really a lot more clunky. So you want to stun and breakthroughs, the +2/+0 first strikes in this set as well. In this deck as well, I mean. These 3 mana keep up isn't the easiest. There's an Academic Probation. Might just want the Illustrious Historian here. This is a pretty fancy lesson, but not exciting. Defend the Campus is also just very medium and situational. Illustrious Historian can do some work, can come back later in the late game, find 2-drop that you can curve out with. And yeah, it also just exile if you do when this creature leaves the battlefield, return the exiled card to your graveyard. Wow, so it goes back into the graveyard. That's kind of funny. That's kind of insane. Do I want to expel? I don't really want to expel an aggressive deck. Fuming Effigy is also very medium. Let's just take another Lorehold Campus. Although, yeah, 2 tap lands is fine in an aggro deck. Other than that, I don't like more than 2 tap lands. I would have probably taken the expel, but we're gonna be pretty aggressive, always attacking. So it's most likely the opponent won't have time to keep the creatures untapped. And a second Enthusiastic Study is nice. And I guess we could main deck a Pigment Storm, or just take Defend the Campus, which is kind of close, easier to cast, can pump our team at least. So I like the versatility of Defend the Campus. Even Blood Age General can be a fine filler 2-drop, has some Spirit synergies. And okay, yep, the deck is coming along quite nicely. Could use some Guiding Voices, otherwise this Clever Lumimancer was a missed pick. In this pack, it doesn't look great. We do see a Pillardrop Rescuer, Make Your Mark, Sudden Breakthrough. Best card in this pack is by far Valentine, Dean of the Vein. So we kind of have to make a good pick here. Could just be the 5-drop. Usually when you don't know whether or not to take the Sudden Breakthrough or Make Your Mark, you just take the creature, and it's totally fine. Because it's not like any of these pump spells are great. They're fine, but still situational. I think I like the Pillardrop Rescuer. Mascot Interception can also be a fine sideboard for now, but I'll just take the consistent flyer that can help us close out and reanimate something back. Ooh, I do like the Illuminate History as a nice lesson we could grab. And even if you don't discard a lot of cards in the late game, you can still make a 3-2 red-white spirit token, so I actually don't hate this lesson here. Otherwise, we'd be looking at a first day of class, which is also okay as a decent way to learn, but it's definitely worse than enthusiastic study, in my opinion. Illuminate History can be a fine lesson we can grab, too. Selfless Glyph Weaver is okay. It can be pretty reasonable in the Lorehold aggro deck, but there's also just Lorehold Pledge Mage, which I think is also really awesome in these types of decks. Currently, we don't have too many ways to trigger Magecraft, although, yeah, this card's fine. But if you can't play the second half of it, it's just a 2/3 that can give your creatures indestructible, which I think is actually pretty good. And there's a chance that the Lorehold Pledge Mage could wheel. But I think that the fact that this can become a 3-powered first striker is just a lot better. So yeah, let's just go for power here. Like a 2/3 is not really a fancy attacker unless we can load up counters onto it, which we aren't seeing. But Lorehold Pledge Mage can pump itself. We can pump and then just dish out a ton of damage. There's a late Environmental Sciences, but we're not splashing for anything. Could just take our first copy of Stonerise Spirits. There's a random Beaming Defiance. First day of class is very medium. Guess now I can take my first copy of Stonerise Spirit. Could play one copy, but I'm not very interested in the second one. And then there's a Claim the Firstborn, which could also be reasonable too. Not a great card. Thrilling Discovery. I don't think we're that type of deck. I think I'll just take a Claim the Firstborn. Maybe we put in the sideboard for now. Could also always be a way to get in some damage. There's just no sack outlets in this set. Like, if you can steal and sack, it's great, but if you can't, it's just kind of like a dead card used to trigger Magecraft. So it could use like Sudden Breakthroughs and Guiding Voices, which I'm not seeing here. Could use a second Combat Professor. So glad that I took the Combat Professor over Thunderous Orator, since I'm not seeing any. Ooh, Rip Apart is great. Gotta take it over Study Break, which I also like. The lesson's also fine, but yeah, Rip Apart 2 mana, just deal 3 damage is quite efficient. And we don't really have any removal spells as of right now, so this is great. And the sign that Lorehold is open. Yeah, I guess his ability just sucks because you lose not only a blocker, but it just doesn't deal. It probably does less damage than actually getting in for physical damage. So Lorehold Apprentice was probably a missed pick. Not sure. Here, could just take a. I don't think we want to take a Draconic Intervention. I don't think this is what the deck is trying to do. Other than that, Stormkilling Artist is also very medium. I don't want to play a second Defender Campus. I think I'll just take an Introduction to Prophecy here. We're just Lorehold aggro, and then speaking of decent sideboard cards, we could take maybe a Reduce the Memory. This is also very medium. Yeah, this is also very medium too. I mean, 5 mana 4/4 isn't that bad. Reduce is also just not very good. So I think I'll take the Elemental Summoning actually over the Reduced. But I could use some more good flyers on turn 4, and could use a Pillar Rescuer. Could also use some Guiding Voices and some Pump Tricks for this deck. But it seems like there's probably another Silver Quill Drafter taking all of our Guiding Voices, which are definitely very important in this type of aggressive Lorehold deck. Ooh, Mascot Interception. I actually don't mind taking this. Can be quite nice. Or Make Your Mark. Make Your Mark could also probably makes more sense with what we're trying to do, since it's just really cheap and efficient. And if we don't have any Guiding Voices, we'll just play Make Your Mark, which is by no means a great card, but fine. And I'll probably play Pigment Storm if I can't find another 5-drop, since I don't need triple Lorehold Campus in an aggro deck. And we'll take a Dragon's Approach for $2 in real life, which is pretty useless. Pigment Storm is okay. With double Lorehold Campus, I can now support it, and gives us another fine removal spell, which I'm happy to play. But usually in the creature-based deck, you rather have a 5-drop flyer. But of course, we can't all always be that lucky. I guess I'll take my first day of class as a potential way to learn. Definitely worse than Study Break. And the Enthusiastic Study, but with double Enthusiastic Study, I don't need to main deck a third copy. I really want Guiding Voice and Study Break. What's going on, guys? Are we getting cut off of Lorehold for some reason, or is it still Cold Drafter taking all of our pump spells? But hopefully we can get them next pack, since I think they're really key and important in these types of decks. Wow, even a late Defend the Campus. Okay, I'll never play 2 copies, but Sparring Regiment's perfect. Yeah, Sparring Regiment. If that wasn't the pick, probably take Pilgrim of the Ages. There's also Spirit Summoning, which is okay. But again, one of the more weaker lessons. The lessons that I'm most interested in getting is probably the Expand Anatomy the most, since it can just deal a ton of damage. And then second place will probably be like Illuminate History or Elemental Summoning. But here, I think I like the Sparring Regiment. Also allows us to learn just a complete bomb overall. So hopefully I don't have to play something like First Day of Class. And then could take a Sudden Breakthrough. How good is the Pilgrim of the Ages? Could be fine. Giving us an okay 3-drop that can help us get our lands. And hopefully we can wield the Sudden Breakthrough. This might not be the deck where we want to play Sudden Breakthrough. I mean, Clever Lumimancer from the looks of it. It doesn't seem like it's shaping out that way. The Pilgrim of the Ages is always fine. Helps us hit our land drops. You can reanimate it in the late game, keep bringing it back, and it's a Spirit. I think I like that over Sudden Breakthrough. And it's the 3rd best white common in my opinion. Now, Guiding Voice is excellent. Gotta take it here over Spirit Summoning. I think double Clever Lumimancer is really risky, but one copy with multiple Guiding Voices and Pump Tricks is really good. So we'll take the Guiding Voice here. Seems quite great. And then, do I take a random Stonerise Spirit? Or Shock? Never mind. What am I looking at? Can't believe I didn't see this. Yeah, this is easily a pack 1, pick 1. Ingenious Mastery is also great in the blue ramp decks, but Shock is just really efficient removal that we need. Venerable Warsinger, perfect. There's also another Inkling Summoning, but not over Venerable Warsinger. Especially great if you can pump it now. So I think I like it. So probably not going to be playing Claim the Firstborn, of course. Don't think I need 3 copies of Pilgrim of the Ages. Could actually just play a Beaming Defiance. I don't like Detention Vortex. It's also quite bad, but it actually could be reasonable as like a 1-mana removal spell that allows you to get in damage for a single turn. But that's why we have Study Break. Beaming Defiance is probably just better, giving us the ability to pump our creatures and get in some decent attacks, so I think that's fine. And then play another copy of Stonebound Mentor as a good 3-drop. And then I guess this is 24 cards. Another Expand Anatomy seems great. There's Expel, which I don't care too much about. Star Pupil is pretty bad. So now with the extra card, I might want the extra way to learn. Do I just play double Lorehold Apprentice? Again, not high on this card. I also don't like the 3rd copy of Pilgrim of the Ages. Doesn't seem great. Maybe I do just diversify and take an Expel, but that seems bad. And this is also pretty hard to cast on curve, honestly. So I'll probably just take the Expel. I'm not sure if it even matters. And Sudden Breakthrough is great. Okay, I like the Sudden Breakthrough here. And wow, even the Spirit Summoning pretty late as well. I'll take that. So probably going to try to play all my Pump Tricks in this deck. We're at 25 cards. Could use one more cut. Typically speaking, we could just cut like the Lorehold Apprentice, but we are lacking 2s to curve out with. I'm liking the Guiding Voice for the Clever Lumimancer in this deck as well. Maybe we just need to cut something on 3. Maybe we just cut the Pilgrim. Although Pilgrim hitting us, giving us our land drops can be nice, especially if we're going to be going 16 lands, which I think this deck is trying to do. Could maybe cut Maker Mark. Ooh, second Guiding Voice seems better than Maker Mark, of course, so I think I like that. Sudden Breakthrough, I mean, I guess Maker Mark could also actually just be better than Sudden Breakthrough, but the fact that Sudden Breakthrough gives you a treasure can be kind of important, especially in a 16-lander. So that could actually be reasonable, having it. Okay, so 42 cards. I think this is going to be 16 lands given our low curve, and I like the 5s. Even the Pigment Storm kind of clunky. It can still be a fine removal spell in the deck. Defend the Campus I actually like one copy of Defend the Campus as well. The 3s are kind of stacked. I like the Pilgrim. Definitely like Sparring Regiment, Double Enthusiastic Study, Lorehold Pledge Mage. Could just shave maybe a Stonebound Mentor here, even though I do like as a body, might not be necessary. And then the 2s are, I think I need all the 2s. Let's take a look at the pump tricks that we have. Beaming Defiance. Sudden Breakthrough is nice. Rip Apart. 2 drops aren't great, but can be serviceable. I think we kind of need all these 2 drops to curve out with the deck, otherwise we're not going to have a consistent curve of creatures. And we do want to curve out with 2 drops into Sparring Regiment and Enthusiastic Study, so I think it's very important to have these the Lorehold Apprentice, even though it's not great, and I would rather replace it with a Blood Age General or Illustrious Historian. It's still a 2 drop that I need to play. In terms of Beaming Defiance, we could just replace it with Make Your Mark, because it's almost like a Beaming Defiance. You still get a 3/2 if the creature dies, and it's just cheaper. So I don't actually hate the whatchamacallit, the Make Your Mark here, since it's just cheaper to cast in a 16-land aggressive deck. Looking at the amount of learn cards we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ways to learn, and how many lessons? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that seems really awesome. We're mostly interested in getting Expanded Anatomy, Spirit Summoning, and Elemental Summoning, and sometimes the Illuminate History. So yeah, I'm liking this deck a lot. Now the question is the Clever Lumimancer really worth it? I mean, we have Double Guiding Voice, Make Your Mark, Sudden Breakthrough. I don't really like to play Make Your Mark just to enable the Clever Lumimancer. It can be pretty insane with the Enthusiastic Study though, and with the Sparring Regiment constantly giving a counter, they might have to just this one creature. This 1 drop can just actually become a creature that the opponent has to prioritize killing. And we don't have any 1 drops too, so there's an argument for keeping this. I don't really think we need first day of class, since we have plenty of ways to learn and better cards to learn with, like Guiding Voice and Enthusiastic Study. Claim. We don't have any sack outlets. Don't need a second. Defend the Campus. Expel. We're not a defensive deck. Beaming Defiance could actually be better than maybe Make Your Mark. I can also play a second Stonerise Spirit over maybe the Lorehold Apprentice, even though it doesn't hit really hard. Lorehold Apprentice is okay. Sometimes you could just activate the Lorehold Apprentice and just tap your spirits to ping the opponent, which could be fine. But the Stonerise Spirit has some decent synergy with the Hoffrey here. What else does it have synergy with? Not much. I mean, it's just a 1/2 flyer, which could be fine. We don't have too much evasion outside of a Pillager Out Rescuer, Combat Professor, and yeah, we don't have much evasion, so I could see the argument of just taking a second Stonerise Spirit, but the stat line is just so poor, I just don't like it that much. And the Lorehold Apprentice being a 2/2 might actually just be better, even though it does get blocked. You know what, let's try the Lorehold Apprentice. I'm not going to waste my time hyper-analyzing this. And then it seems like 9 red and 9 white seems great with 2 tap lands. Yeah, let's give this a shot. Usually the Lorehold mid-range deck that's trying to do the whole reanimation shenanigans with Thrilling Discovery and the Reconstruct History usually doesn't come together. But but this deck seems fine. Could also just cut the Lorehold Pledge Mage, but I do like the first strike for the Thunderous Orator as well. So there's an argument for just putting the Stonerise Spirit, because not only does Hoffrey pump it up, but it gives another flyer for the Thunderous Orator to fly over with, which is pretty reasonable. And this is a little bit tough to cast, so maybe it is reasonable just cutting this, and maybe we rather just have a second Stonerise Spirit on turn 2, and then just keep it simple. And I guess it also has synergy with the Blood Age General. We're not trying, and even if we trigger Magecraft for the Lorehold Apprentice, it's not like we're trying to tap our spirits to just ping them. We really want to just be focused and attacking at all times. So I think this card actually sucks. I do like the first strike on this. As much as I like my second Stonebound Mentor, I think we need at least a Pilgrim to help us hit our land drops and have some sort of grindy element in the deck. And also has some spirit synergies too. So yeah, you know what? Just give this a shot. Let's not wasting our time. Slightly favoring white though. I could go heavily favoring white, but I think it's still fine just keeping it even split. And just the activatability of the Lorehold spirit flyer in the Lake King and giving our creature flying can be pretty relevant. I've never really drafted this deck, but I've read about it, so I kind of know the key components of what to do. So as long as it's consistent and makes sense, I'm happy. It might not be the most optimal Lorehold aggro deck, but still quite solid, I think, and that's what we want to aim for. All right, let's see our opening hand. Well, we can play a 2-drop into 3-drop. Seems fine on the play, and these campuses really help us fix. So that's really nice. Usually, I don't like more than 2 copies in any deck, in any aggressive deck. And this can also gain first strike next turn. This is also a deck where I wouldn't mind 1 copy of Twin Scroll Shaman, but I think the Lorehold Pledge Mage might be better, to be honest. Sudden Breakthrough could be nice, same with Make Your Mark. Guess we'll just attack with all and then see what's up. I guess Beaming Defiance seems better than Sudden Breakthrough in this scenario because he could have a Burying Books, which can be kind of annoying here to slow me down. So maybe I want Hexproof Trick over Sudden Breakthrough. Not sure. Yeah, I probably see a Burying here, which is going to slow me down. That sucks. Okay. Rip Aparts, okay. We'll get the Lorehold Pledge Mage next turn, we'll just keep chipping in for 2. Definitely doesn't seem great, but I mean, what else do we do here? Could see Eureka Moment end of turn, no Eureka Moments, okay. So that's very interesting to note. Hopefully he can just play a creature I can take out with Rip Apart, and then we can just attack and go from there. Field Trip, okay, that's pretty good. Although he's not really developing the board, but he can easily just play a 6/6 out of nowhere, which can be pretty annoying. So that's the reason why the flyer can be more important in this type of deck. But yeah, Burying Books definitely delayed us pretty badly. We'll attack for 2 here and start chipping in. And we might have to save the trick for the Fractal Token, which is going to become a 5/5. That we can maybe break past. Assist and gain back Field Trip is okay. I guess Burying Books to slow me down. Sure. Can always rip this apart, so I'm not against it. Yeah, let's just do that now. And then we'll focus on combat tricks later. Could also just attack with both, honestly. He could use an Arcane. I guess he could use the Arcane spell. Maybe I'm fine main phasing this, destroying the Bibliotech Assistant and seeing what's up. And if he has a Hexproof Snakeskin Veil, we still have first strike to deal with this. I think it's fine moving to combat. And getting him for 5 here is still nice. Could see a second Burying Books. Divide by 0, sure. Not the worst, but also pretty annoying. So could use some Flying Wind conditions in this deck. He's probably going to cast a Pest Summoning and keep up Burying Books. or biomathematician, which is very annoying. So I might not even want to attack into this, honestly. But end of turn, it feels like he's just going to cast Burying Books anyways. Combat Professor seems nice. I mean, he could just bounce by Combat Professor, but then he'll be losing First Strike, so this seems fine. Sure. I'm still going to give this flying. So 3, 4, 5. Yep, let's just attack for 3 flying, which seems great. And we can just cheese them out. Cheese this annoying Quandrix deck out. I guess he can just get rid of my flyer maybe. And set me back. Ether Helix. I mean, I can just recast it. I don't really care about the pest summoning. I think I could even kill him next turn. Interestingly enough, he doesn't play anything. Could just be a reject. Can I play around reject? I can Sparring Regiment here. I think I have to go for the Combat Professor. Hopefully no reject here. Okay, that's pretty good. And then we'll just pump this Thunderous Orator. And could be a second Burying Books, but I'm fine with that. No Follower, that's okay. I'm still gonna fly over here. I'm just gonna deal 2. I guess I can do 4, 5. I don't think it's worth it. But just to kill him. And then force him in chump block mode. Cultivator into, I guess, the Bibliotech Assistant, getting back Ether Helix. Or Burying Books, which is really annoying. So can I kill him next turn? So he can block one of my threats, but I can pump one of them into 3 power. Plus a Sparring Regiment, I think it's lethal. So I think we win here. Opponent can be aggressive, I don't really care. So what we can do now is we can play Sparring Regiment, and we have both our combat tricks up, so that's pretty awesome. And then we want to grab Expand Anatomy, I think. And then we want to move to combat. Doesn't really matter. I guess I'll pump this, and then we'll attack with both. He's going to chump one of them, but then we can use a Sparring Regiment to counter onto the Orator. And then we can just use the Sudden Breakthrough to kill him, so that's pretty good. Alright, that was pretty awesome. First match. And we managed to steal that one. Yeah, I might prefer Beaming Defiance now over the Sudden Breakthrough. Like, sure, it makes a treasure, but this set is full of removal and weird shenanigans, so the Beaming Defiance is probably better than the Sudden Breakthrough, I think. And I'd still like my 1-mana Maker Mark. Yeah, I felt like in that game the Beaming Defiance felt better, but yeah, it's possible that we need to use this to make a treasure in sometimes ramp, but again, I think this is much safer. So we'll just toss in the Beaming Defiance, and it seems like we're more favoring white now, so we could even just cut a mountain here and go 10 white sources and 8 red sources, which seems reasonable. So yeah, let's just try this. Added this deck like 3 times already. Clever Lumimancer on 1 plus Guiding Voice would be awesome. Unfortunately, it's okay. Not a great hand, but being on the play, I think I need to keep this. There's going to be a slow clock with this Stonerise Spirit. But we could also just fire off Enthusiastic Study, learn, and get some lessons going. And get the Expand Anatomy going. So that's also reasonable. And I'm fine firing off 1 next turn, just to have that anatomy or that extra creature which we're kind of lacking. So yeah, let's attack. And then no effects, we'll just enthusiastic study here. And hopefully no shock. And I think I want to grab a creature here since we're lacking creatures. So Spirit Summoning seems alright since we have another Enthusiastic Study. Expand Anatomy is again also okay-ish. I think I just like the Spirit Summoning. Land would be great since we can Shock and Spirit Summoning to develop the battlefield. Cultivate's okay. I mean, I guess I can just play this out. Okay, tap land is okay-ish. Could also Enthusiastic Study again, but I think the Spirit Summoning is fine here. And we can eventually just give this flying. Can always defend the campus to deal with a large threat. Neothorn Drake is shockable. Thank God, and we will shock it right now. Hopefully no Snakeskin Veil or Counterspell, but this is great. And if he has a Bearing Books, we'll just Beaming Defiance. So thank God I added that to my deck. So you could see like a Bearing here. And yep, we'll just give this Hexproof. Yep, get all the counter spells and combat tricks. These silly control decks. Alright, I guess I'll Enthusiastic Study again. Maybe get a large creature. I guess I can play two things at once. So I can Enthusiastic Study here, put Expand Anatomy onto the creature, and then attack for a ton. And put him at 3, so he needs to find an answer to this Stonerise Spirit or else he's just dead. And usually that's not too hard for these stupid teamwork control decks. But at 3 life it's going to be a little bit more difficult for him to win, so yep. We'll just keep applying pressure. If he makes a large creature, we'll just defend the campus, kill it, and pump him and attack for 3. Hopefully it's not the Elemental, make 2 4/4s. Wow, even Draconic Intervention just to take this out. So definitely facing a serious control deck. And yeah, we'll just play land and say go. Scry end of turn, can even defend the campus and kill something end of turn if it's large. He could just be sandbagging removal, but we have enough threats to help us close out. So we'll just scry here, and we'll bomb the land, that's great. Don't think I'll scry my upkeep. Now I feel like I need to scry my upkeep, but eventually we'll hit something here. But there's some 5-drops that I don't mind just playing, so that's the reason why I decide to not scry on my upkeep. Because Pillardrop Rescuer could be pretty reasonable. But his deck is definitely quite insane with if he has all these bomb double red cards. Which is what a lot of these teamer controls decks like to do. So he probably has a million removal spells, but not enough threats. He'll eventually make a giant fractal, which I can hopefully take out. I think I need to defend on this. Can I still scry? I mean, I can still scry and, you know, use defend next turn. And I can still maybe take a hit from this Professor. It's not like game over, right? If I take a hit for 4. Pigment Storm is pretty useful. I guess I can Pigment Storm, take this out and kill him. Since the death trigger's on the stack, so I can just Pigment Storm on the 1/1 token, and he's just dead. So this is nice. Awesome. Yep, Pigment Storm, nice 5-drop, and we got there. Awesome. Sometimes you just cheese them out. It's definitely not recommended that it's definitely not a recommended thing to do in this set unless you're Silver Quill. But if you open up something like Hoffrey, you might just go for it here, since Hoffrey is just an insane bomb. And usually the Lorehold Aggro decks are just very open since no one wants to draft that guild. Okay, seems good. And Hoffrey, this is pretty sweet. So we can maybe see him in action this game. Gonna leave the Illustrious Historian over to Blood Age General since this has more utility in the late game. And I'm fine trading this off. Opt. Or Brainstorm. It's either Brainstorm or Opt. If he's holding a priority, it's kind of interesting here. We can kill Pledge Mage or Rip Apart as well. I think I like killing this, actually. It's pretty annoying. I can also use Make Your Mark, actually. Maybe that's just better since I get a 3-2. Let's attack. And we'll use Make Your Mark. Usually Rip Apart's a better spell, and we can now get value out of Make Your Mark. Make a 3-2 and also develop the board with a Blood Age General. Could see maybe a bounce trick, that's fine. We can take it out with Rip Apart. Or Shock it, that's even better. We could even cast Hoffrey next turn if we get there in the lands. Field Trip, okay, so land off the top would be pretty insane here. I mean, I'm still fine with a creature or a spell, but land would be pretty insane in the Hoffrey here. We can smash for a ton of damage, and then... Okay, yeah, if we're doing it. Let's do it. Hoffrey goes for it. Just play him. Alright. We got our bomb rare. And we can smash him for 7. This game is about to be over. Hoffrey can also attack past the 4-5 as well, which is also interesting to note. And we can develop the Clever Lumimancer or just reanimate the Illustrious Historian end of turn. I think we'll reanimate the Illustrious Historian and attack with both of these. If he wants to trade, I can also tap the Blood Age General to deal the extra point of damage. Yeah, if he blocks here, I can just tap this and trample over for an extra point. So we can just do this instead. And then we can reanimate, exile the Illustrious Historian and bring on another haste creature. I could have actually just done this main phase, actually. I forgot that my spirit tokens have haste, so I guess I'm not that used to Hoffrey. Drake we can kill with Rip Apart. If he decides to suicide onto Hoffrey, that can be a pretty interesting story, but then we can attack back for a ton of damage again next turn. But yeah, we'll just exile this. And we'll attempt to rip this apart. Yeah, we'll rip this apart. No reason not to. I mean, it's still lethal, right? Let's say he does have some sort of interaction spell or Snakeskin Veil. Yeah, he's just dead here. Awesome. Hoffrey on curve. Really freaking awesome. That's why we first pick him. And, you know, he's not great in Prismari. I think he can be alright in Prismari, but he feels better just in straight-up red-white aggro, since you're going to be more creature-heavy. Like, usually cards like Velomachus, Lorehold, or Radiant Scroll Wheeler, or Return Past Caller you want to splash in blue-red, since they have a lot of synergy with instances and sorceries, but Hoffrey's more of a creature-heavy sort of bomb that you want to just draft straight-up red-white with. But, of course, there's exceptions to the rules. I'm usually a guy that likes to follow the guidelines, and sometimes, occasionally, break the rules, but I really like to stay within the guidelines to increase my higher win rate percentage chances. Okay, Clever Lumimancer and Guiding Voice and Stonerise Spirit seems great. Question is, which one first? Probably the Stonerise Spirit. Or the Blood Age General can hit pretty hard as well. It really depends. I might want to put a counter onto the Stonerise Spirit though, so that's very interesting to note. Opt turn 1. Having a Flower out is nice. Blood Age General also attacking for 3 is nice. It's definitely one of these, and which one do I prefer? Probably just the Stonerise Spirit, because I might want to put a counter onto this over the Blood Age General, since I think this creature is more important with a counter on it. Since it's potentially a flying win condition, even though it's kind of all in with the Guiding Voice, I think it's worth it. Plays nothing, so he could have a shock, so I could be a little bit scared here. Do I still go for it? I think I have to, otherwise we're not doing anything. Could Guiding Voice on the Clever Lumimancer to play it a little bit safer. Maybe that's fine. Yeah. Let's try it here. At least if he shocks this, I still have a 1-2 that can start pinging him, which isn't necessarily great, but serviceable. And then here, next turn, what we're planning to do, maybe expand anatomy and keep pumping the team. Seems fine. And then I can attack with both. Could see an arcane subtraction to buy himself some time. So no shock. It'd be pretty devastating if he decided to shock my guiding voice. That would have been pretty far behind. So that's the little bit. So the aggro decks can be pretty powerful if the opponent doesn't have answers, but if they have answers to them, then they're pretty volatile. So keep that in mind, guys. It can be pretty scary playing the aggressive decks, especially against the blue decks instead, given that they have so much instant speed shenanigans going on. So I'm a little bit scared here. I probably don't want to use Expand Anatomy. Maybe fine even casting Defend the Campus, pumping the team and getting in a huge hit. Okay, Cross Tracer, I guess that changes the story. So I can use the Expand Anatomy on the Stonerise Spirit in attack, can offer to trade with Blood Age General, or just pump the Stonerise Spirit. Maybe that's fine too. Do I want to trade here? Not really. Just want to get in for 4. He's probably not blocking, so now we can activate and get in for 4. And we also defended the campus to pump the team. The opponent's probably sandbagging some sort of removal spell on the Stonerise Spirit. Okay. Can Guiding Voice here. And I can attack and use Defend the Campus. I can also Guiding Voice on Clever Lumimancer. It becomes a 4-powered creature. I think I like the Guiding Voice, second Guiding Voice on this Stonerise Spirit. And then we can grab another Expand Anatomy, which seems great. And do I want to cast another Expand Anatomy? It's also really good just to get this Stonerise Spirit out of range of everything. I can also put on the Blood Age General and make it into a 4/4. Pretty interesting choice. Or put on the Clever Lumimancer. If I attack with all, he could just use... I could also just defend the campus and blow him out. I think I just attack with all here. And not waste my time. Cast Defend the Campus. And then go from there. And yeah, this seems like a good turn to just use Defend the Campus and then just pump my entire team. So this is just a complete blowout. Silly blue control decks. You guys think you're so awesome with your fancy burying books, but I'll show you. So I probably want to expand Anatomy on the Blood Age General, because if he has a burying books, we can at least diversify the threats. So I think we put it on the Blood Age General. And then we can still, so if he decides to bounce this or use a removal spell at instant speed, we still get to preserve these other 2 remaining threats, which are important. Yup, shock. Sure, that's unfortunate. I still get the Clever Lumimancer trigger, and even if he deals with my Stonerise Spirit, I can still shock his face and pump the Clever Lumimancer in response. Urza's Rage, okay, sure, I guess I can attack him before and shock him. The opponent's definitely very scared here. And then we'll just say hello and shock him in the face for lethal. And show him the power of red-white aggro. And maybe we're out of dumpster rankings with this fun Lorehold aggro deck. Definitely been cheesing out these annoying control decks that everyone's been drafting. Alright, sweet. So currently 4-0 with Lorehold aggro. Pretty hilarious, but we'll keep playing this. This is definitely one of the most fun draft sessions I've had. Since it's not only a new archetype that I'm drafting, but I'm also kicking people's butt. But I can easily just get swept, who knows. We'll keep trying to smash face here. We haven't faced our arch nemesis, the Silver Quill deck yet, but we'll see. Alright, we have a 2-drop, we're on a draw, can Pilgrim of the Ages, can Lorehold Pledge Mage. Seems fine, could use some pump tricks, but definitely a serviceable hand. Might want to cast this on turn 4 to go get to Pilgrim of the Ages. Or maybe I just play this on turn 3 to trade off for the 2-2, which could also be reasonable, since this can be a little bit more scarier if the opponent has pump tricks. So let's see, I guess I'll swing back here. And then, yeah, I think the Pilgrim of the Ages is fine. Fine trading this off. And then we can play the Lorehold Pledge Mage just to be safe for next turn. And I'm happy trading off for any of these. Could see a Rip Apart, a Shock, okay. Alright, so at least we saved the Lorehold Pledge Mage, and this is just going to be a better blocker in the future. But the opponent's also playing the same type of deck. Wow, Combat Professor. I think I like that instead. Let's go. Definitely going to block the 2-2. Not the eager first year, though. Hoping he doesn't have a Guiding Voice. That can be kind of scary as well. Rip Apart, wow, that's really good. Yeah, I guess I'll take a million hits here, and then hopefully maybe stabilize next turn, but this isn't great. Do I Pigment Storm against a bunch of 2-drops? Doesn't seem great. I can take 2, and maybe I do just want to play Pillar Drop Rescuer, but if he has another removal spell, it's going to be kind of bad for me. So maybe I do just Pigment Storm on this 2-2 attack. And then maybe Pillar Drop Rescuer or play 3-drop into another 3-drop next turn. Because their eager first year has been piling up a lot of damage. Wow, that's pretty good. And now he can lock down my Pillar Drop Rescuer. So I guess we didn't dodge that bullet, but we can at least cast him on turn 7 next turn. And still hold this back against the Elite Spellbinder, so seems okay. And no attacks here. So yeah, I guess we're facing against the mirror match. And this opponent has a really good Lorehold deck as well. And yeah, I guess this is flying. Didn't see that one coming. It's pretty good. But we can at least Pillar Drop Rescuer here. And maybe chump the 4-3 and go from there. I can just double block this and maybe trade. But the opponent has a lot more tempo. Even plays a Lorehold Apprentice, so similar deck. Okay, so what do we do here? I definitely can't take 4. I do want to kill this, so I think I trade here and I block here and just take 2. As much as I like my combat tricks, unfortunately that isn't the case. Enthusiastic Study. I guess we're just dead because he's just gonna go wide and kill us. So yeah, GG's opponent. You copied my style and you beat at me. So yeah, I guess the only way we lose is the mirror match. Funny enough. Pome was stuck on 2 lands too, but had a lot of had Shock and Rip Apart, which dealt a ton of damage, and Eager First Year also was really powerful. Definitely better than our Stonerise Spirits on turn 2. Maybe it was better to Pigment Storm the 2-2, but I wasn't expecting a flyer on turn 3. Alright, so let's win the mirror match. Ooh. Yep. We're doing this. Watch the curve, guys. Watch this. I mean, it's going to be doing nothing on turn 1, but imagine with a sparring regiment eventually helping us find expand anatomy to pump. This is pretty nutty. So yep, we'll just curve out here. Turn 3 sparring regiments. I think we want to put a counter onto the Clever Lumimancer instead of the Illustrious Historian, but they're both kind of close. I guess it really depends. Alright, I think we want to trade one of them off, so I think I'm just going to use Sparring Regiment and put a counter on the Clever Lumimancer instead. And do I want more creatures? I think I do, since I have another Guiding Voice to find and expand anatomy. I think having the Spirit Summoning is more important, just in case we run out of creatures and threats. I think we attack with both, and then we want to Sparring Regiment on the Clever Lumimancer and offer a trade here. That way we can still Guiding Voice and Spirit Summoning the turn afterwards. And yeah, this is a pretty nice turn to do that. Actually, it's better to play the tap land. And then you can bury this, but that's fine. I'll just keep pumping my creatures and attacking. Sparring Regiment is just such an insane bomb. And we can also get back Clever Lumimancer with the Pillar Drop Warden. Yeah, I think we just want to diversify some threats. I think I want to pump the Illustrious Historian, since he could have Burying Books, and I don't want my token to get answered here. Yep, so the token at least stays alive. And I can still play a 5-drop here. And get back the Clever Lumimancer, which can be kind of busted with Guiding Voice. I think I need to kill that. It's just too scary. And I want to put a counter on the Pillar Drop Warden because he's a flyer. And if he does bounce this back, I actually don't mind, since I can just recast it to get back some playables that end up in the graveyard. So yeah, so Sparring Regiment on turn 3 is just insane. And yeah, we stole another one. So don't sleep on aggro, guys, even if it's red-white, the worst college. You can definitely steal some victories with the right deck. Any deck. I mean, obviously, the decks that require a lot more work and build around are Witherbloom and Lorehold, so they're considered the worst colleges, but definitely don't sleep on them, definitely don't avoid them, and definitely don't put them last on your list, because if you do have the right synergies and everything, it can definitely be as powerful as the Quandrix or the Silver Quill decks, which overall require less synergy and setup, and could even be better sometimes. But definitely, if the right pieces don't come together, they're definitely a lot weaker than Quandrix and Silver Quill aggro. But if the right pieces do come together, they can just be as strong or even stronger. But they do require a lot more work to build around, unfortunately. Since Witherbloom needs life gain, the Lorehold decks have some weird, janky reanimation spells they want to avoid. But yeah, this seems okay. Not great, but definitely keepable since we're on the play. Ooh, Orator. Orator hits harder and it curves out better with the Stonerise Spirit, so I think we want to leave with that first. So an Abzan sword deck with Shale, that's a pretty busted card, but hopefully we can cheese him out with Hoffrey. Yeah, this card is pretty nutty, but maybe we just win in disguise with this type of deck. Since now he can just play a creature and then put a counter onto it, but he can't attack into anything. It's okay, I think we just leave the Combat Professor here. And the question is, who do we pump? I think we just pump Stonerise Spirit to diversify. He could also have a big play, which is very annoying. But I think it's fine just diversifying here. I mean, we have 2 flyers here anyways. And yeah, we're just smashing. Hoffrey on 5, it just game over almost. Since even if he kills one of my threats, they just come back as a spirit token. And we can punish these 4-color, 5-color decks. Wow, and he snipes Hoffrey. That's so backbreaking. At least we have Beaming Defiance as backup. Also don't mind trading for Shale as well. We don't necessarily need to cast a Beaming Defiance right away, but this seems fine. The trade is okay, and I'm gonna actually allow this trade because I'd rather just keep up the Beaming Defiance, and we can just keep progressing the board, keep up the Beaming Defiance against these annoying removal spells. But we should be able to get there now that Shell is gone, and we can keep up Beaming Defiance against like the Mage Hunter's onslaughts and everything, and protect the Combat Professor. Yeah, we got him. That was sweet. Okay, sweet. So 6-1. We have one more final boss to get to, and we might get out dumpster ranking, hopefully. Highly unlikely, though, since 98%, I think it's still going to take a while, but we're definitely on a huge win streak here. Hoffrey would have just been game over immediately, but yeah, 6-1. Let's get the final boss. Let's go. Haven't really blown anyone out with Enthusiastic Study yet as well, which is interesting. Only have one game where Hoffrey really destroyed the opponent, but yeah, he's definitely worth first picking and building around, like Blade Historian. Alright, let's see, maybe this is the final opponent we can cheese out, and he's also in dumpster ranking, so don't need to be scared if he's top mythic or anything. Alright, Clever Lumimancer into Orator. Although Clever Lumimancer is not going to do anything on turn 1 since we don't have a pump spell, so we're probably just going to play out the Lorehold campus into maybe Blood Age General, or I could always turn 1 Lumimancer actually, and then play a turn 2 Orator into Stonerise Spirit. Maybe that's fine too. You know what? We're not cowards. Let's go for it. We're fine missing out on a 3-drop just to play a tap land. I just want to get this on board because it can be kind of disgusting in the right scenario. So, yeah, let's Thunderous Orator up. Next turn we can play the tap land into Stonerise Spirit, and we can still attack in for 2. It's not like we need a Venerable Warsinger this early. Could also be running multiple board wipes, which is also very annoying too. Right, but we'll just cast a Stonerise Spirit, attack for 2. And eventually we can just play a pump spell and go wide. But this seems fine. Let's say he has a pump spell to deal with the Stonerise Spirit. That's also very annoying. He's probably holding up something here. I think we just attack with both, or just the Thunderous Orator. Because I don't want to lose a Stonerise Spirit since it's going to be one of our key flying threats. So I might miss on 1 damage, but this is okay. Hopefully he doesn't have a Crux of Fate, but I still think as an aggro deck we need to kind of go all in with these types of decks. Yep, Burying Books, sure. And this hits pretty hard. Wondering what he has, maybe eliminate end of turn on the Stonerise Spirit. Plum the Forbidden, okay, he gets to learn here, and I mean he gets to lose life, which does help us out, so that's actually not that bad. Just a random elemental summoning, we can still attack for 1. Play out maybe a Venerable Warsinger or Blood Age General. So he's just going to try to stabilize as a control deck. Study would be awesome. Hoffrey would also be really freaking awesome. Yeah, let's Hoffrey time here. And let's go. That was a really sweet top deck. And now all of our spirits have haste as well. So as long as he doesn't have like a Crux of Fate here, I should be fine. Crux of Fate can be pretty backbreaking. Yeah, I'm probably just going to leave the Venerable Warsinger since it can attack past the 4-4 or at least trade into it. But we'll see. Yep, let's just go. Let's not mess around, guys. And I think... yeah, and I think I want to cast the Thunderous Orator here too, since it'll also gain haste, right? No, it doesn't gain haste. Yeah, I mean, he could blow me out with a Berry on the Hoffrey, but I think I still go for this play since it deals a shit ton of damage. I can also attack with Hoffrey, but it's a little bit too risky, so I think this attack is fine. He can bounce Hoffrey, get a nice block on the Venerable Warsinger. But we still get in for maybe, I guess, 4 damage. Yep, I knew this was coming. So we still get in for 4 damage, and we can still fly over with the activated ability of Stonerise. So it's actually not that bad. It's not great either, but we'll eventually just play out Hoffrey. So now we can exile the Stonebound Mentor and attack with all 3 of these, and that should be a lot of damage. As long as he doesn't deal with the Stonerise Spirit, I should be fine. The mirror, what the hell is this? Why do people try experimental crap like this? It's fun, but you know, it's just not as consistent as you would like to be in. Since if you stick with the colleges, you can just have a better deck for the most part. So let's just activate the Stonerise Spirit, without wasting time. Put in Stonebound Mentor, exile the Venerable Warsinger, and then we also get to Scry, we're definitely keeping Hoffrey on top. And then we'll just attack with all 3 of these. He could bounce still, and then take on my Orator, but I still have more exile targets for flying. I mean, like, you either go in or you don't, honestly. Eureka Moment, that's fine. But if he doesn't have anything here, he's screwed. So he would need like a second Bearing Book or maybe an Arcane Subtraction to stabilize this turn. The question is, do I sandbag the Blood Age General? I don't think so. Because let's say he does Crux of Fate, I can just drop a Hoffrey, and hopefully that's fine. That's okay. I guess he's going to trade with a 2-1, but he's still going to take 4. And hopefully no Crux of Fate. Because I'm going to play out the Blood Age General no matter what. We just need more key threats. Wow, Lash of Malice, Jesus. That's really nice. Close down to 3, I can maybe cast Hoffrey next turn and cheese him out. So I definitely want to play out the Blood Age General. Really silly deck. I guess it's Soul Tie, but I guess it's the Mirror Splashing Blue. Pretty interesting. Plunder Forbidden doesn't really make too much sense in this type of deck unless he has Pest Summonings. But he probably just has a bunch of bounce and removal spells, and maybe a board wipe that can help him seal the game. So I'm kind of fine going all in actually with Hoffrey. Since, like, I still get back a token even if one of my creatures die. Okay, he's just going to do that. I guess he gets to learn now. So the question is, do I want to suicide my Blood Age General? I guess he wants to exile it, so maybe I still play around it. Yeah, I think I need to play around the introduction here, because he's just going to cast it. And I still draw a card, though, so it could just be reasonable still casting it and making him waste the exile effect. Maybe it's fine. Don't really care here. And when a nerd non-token creature dies, exile if you do create a token that's a copy of the creature except as a spirit, in addition to its types. When this return the... Do I want to just attack and suicide? Like, if this gets buried in books and it makes me lose my draw step, it's kind of bad. But either way, there's no reason to attack with it. And I'm fine if he wants to use the introduction here. I can still get another Stonerise Spirit and kill him. So I do need to just cheese him out with maybe a Guiding Voice or something. Like maybe Guiding Voice onto the Blood Age General. Into like Expanded Anatomy can maybe cheese him out. And if he wants to tap out for a Hoffrey Ghostforge, I still get to draw a card. So I think this is worth doing here. As much as I don't like to play my bombs into a removal spell, it still gives me some extra card advantage with him using this Introduction to Annihilation. So I'm actually pretty fine with this play. So now I can play Pillar Drop Rescuer. Get back the Stonerise, I think, over the Orator, since I can start activating this and giving my other creatures flying, so I think that's more important. And then we can say go, and then try to top deck into something good next turn. But we're close. Opponent's thinking on his upkeep, should I scry? Should I sack my letter of acceptance? These grindy games are a little bit silly. Maybe he does have 2 removal spells lined up. But I think this is my only out, and we got him good games. Sweet, 6-1 with a Lorehold aggro deck. So definitely don't sleep on it, and we're almost out of dumpster rankings. I can maybe do one more draft to get myself out of this dumpster ranking before the next season appears, who knows. But yeah, first time drafting Lorehold aggro here on Arena, and we got to 7 wins. With a pack 1 pick 1 Hoffrey over Day of Judgment, which I think is definitely correct. So I'm actually very happy about this draft, since we never done this, and I managed to navigate this successfully. So yeah, let's do an overview of this deck. And this was a really quick video as well. I mean, it's aggro, so definitely very quick. So yeah, looking at this deck, just a pretty awesome Lorehold aggro deck. Let's definitely want to focus on the pump spells and removal. The more expensive removal is not great, but the Pigment Storm managed to win us a game. So usually one top-end removal spell is fine in these Lorehold aggressive decks. But mostly you want to focus on cheap pump spells and double Enthusiastic Study on turn 3. Managed to win 1 game with Sparring Regiment. Didn't see it too much in the rest of the other games, so this was a card that I didn't see too much play on. Hoffrey managed to steal 2 of our other games, especially the last one. Even though it didn't KO the opponent, it managed to make him use an Annihilation on it, which was really good. And then, yeah, straight up. And this was 16 lands as well. I almost forgot about it. Yeah, 16 lands with only 2 5-drops, 3 5-drops being Pigment Storm, and we still managed to curve out quite nicely. The card that definitely I think was correct cutting was the Lorehold Apprentice, since it was hard to cast and didn't have any amazing synergy. Even if we trigger Magecraft, we're more interested in attacking our creatures instead of tapping them to ping the opponents. So definitely don't rank this highly. And if this card is just like the most extreme filler 2-drop if we need one, but the Blood Age Generals, Illustrious Historian, and Stonerise Spirits were definitely better than this, since it gave me another flyer that can help my Thunderous Orator fly across, also a Spirit with synergy with the Blood Age General and Hoffrey, and in the late game you can just start exiling cards from the graveyard to give your creatures flying to help you close out the game. So Stonerise Spirit definitely preferable over Lorehold Apprentice. Even though it's not a great card, it's easier to cast and has a lot more synergy, so I was pleasantly surprised how this overperformed in the Lorehold aggro decks. And then the Expand Nami, obviously incredibly insane in any aggro white deck in the set, including Silver Quill. The Stone Spirit Summoning cast this once as a fine lesson, but the Expand Nami is definitely the more useful lesson to have in the aggressive decks. Only summoned the Spirit Summoning once, and didn't cast Expel once, and yeah, we managed to get to 7. So yeah, with a decent amount of removal and a decent amount of pump tricks, we managed to get there. Didn't know if I was going to play Clever Lumimancer with only 1 Guiding Voice. If it wasn't for the second Guiding Voice, I would probably cut the Clever Lumimancer instead and play maybe like, I don't know, actually Lorehold Apprentice would also have been pretty bad, but it's nice curving Clever Lumimancer into Regiment and Enthusiastic Study anyways. So this was definitely a very fun deck. Forgot to take a snapshot, one moment. And yep, let's move everything aside again. Move the pump spells to the other side, move the removal spells to the other side. This was just an insane bomb. Like, this card is so nutty. And yeah, I think the curve looks something like this. Even though these are removal spells, I would count them as 4 or 5 drops. These are most likely interested in just playing them on curve whenever the situation arrives. Especially in an aggro deck, you want to use a removal spell right away to take out a threat, because you want to just get in with your creatures and chip in for damage. Instead of sandbagging this for a key threat, because in aggro, every damage matters. And yeah, this draft went really well. So yeah, we even opened up like Venerable Warsinger. Not often would I first pick this card, because you again, it can only, like Hoffrey, it can only go in the red-white aggro deck, since it's a pretty poor splash in the Prismari control deck. And it's really difficult to really make this happen, since you do need to deal a specific amount of damage to get the creatures back from the yard, but definitely a really nice pickup for the red-white aggro deck. Like, I'd be happy playing this in red-white aggro, but outside of it, it's definitely not amazing, and it's not like a bomb rare that you should fall for. Usually, like, Burying Books and Heated Debate are just better, But overall, again, really fun deck, and I was quite happy I managed to finally get a Lorehold draft in. So now we have all 5 colleges mastered, quote unquote, and let's claim some prizes. Pretend we're drafting Strixhaven. Yeah, pack 1, pick 1, Strixhaven Premier Draft. Let's pretend we're drafting Strixhaven. Hex, this is a complete bomb. Yeah, you would just play this in straight up red, black, white, silver quill, since double black is difficult to splash. And I mean, you could still play this in Witterbloom, I guess, if you splash for white. Like, or maybe some sort of weird Rakdos Mardu combination, splashing white if you get nothing but red and black removal spells. Since every time you Magecraft this, you can just bring back any creature from your graveyard, which is quite powerful. And, you know, Double Strike is insane, so if you load this up with counters, it's great. But definitely better in straight-up Silver Quill aggro, but I can see this as a fine splash option in Witterbloom, or maybe, again, in some sort of weird Mardu control combination, which does exist in the set. Awaken the Blood Avatar, you're most likely not going to cast, but it can have some... But having the flexibility to cast this is also really awesome. Like, let's just say you two splash a little bit of red in the Silver Quill decks. You can just bring out, I guess, a 3/6 haste creature that can just start smashing the opponent for 3 damage every single time it attacks. And since a 3/6 is really difficult to block, and 3 damage is a lot, it can be pretty insane. Obviously, it's not going to be easy to sack. I guess it's going to be a 6 mana creature to sack. I mean, you're most likely going to cast Awaken the Blood Avatar for 6 mana and then sacrifice a creature that gets blanked in the late game for this. But for the most part, you'll be mostly casting Exodus, but Awaken the Blood Avatar is also a really fun card. So this is obviously the pack 1, pick 1 slam dunk bomb. Between Mortality Spear and Devouring Tendrils, probably still take Devouring Tendrils since it's nothing worse than Mortality Spear, but more flexible. You can still play this Quandrix, whereas you have to splash this or play this in straight up Witterbloom if you want to try this, but I would still take Devouring Tendrils, but easy Exodus, Auric, Overlord. Skirt Colony is also an overperformer that people have been talking about. Here in this pack, it sucks. Probably take Professor Zoomancy. You know, in my red-white aggro deck, I wasn't even sure if I would play Quintorius. It's just really clunky, expensive. The stats aren't amazing. Has some decent synergy to Spirits, but overall, I might even play the Relic Sloth over this. But could always be okay, but probably take Professor. I was also considering a Detention Vortex for this red-white aggro deck as well, which actually I could imagine being okay. The fact is that the Detention Vortex just doesn't trigger Magecraft, and they can eventually just unlock it for 3 mana, which isn't great. But if you just need to get a blocker out of the way for 1 turn, it's fine. Here, just easy Agonizing Remorse. Tenured Innkeeper, not a big fan of this. 5 mana 2/2 is just a poor stat line. Can be okay if you want to drain the opponent and enable some life gain synergies, but definitely slow and very... and it's not a great card in Silver Quill. I might just play 1 copy in Silver Quill, but overall, I'd rather just have the Allen Shield Mage or the Witterbloom Pledge Mage at 5. Pillar Drop Warden also reasonable blocker, and pretty nice in the controlling red decks. Yeah, I guess Field Trip is the best card in this pack, the best green common. Obviously would take this over Clever Lumimancer. But don't sleep on Clever Lumimancer. Like, it needs to be in the right deck, and in the right deck is really awesome. In the wrong deck, it's really bad. So if you want to commit to white aggro deck, Silver Quill, Lorehold, you need to at least have a decent amount of pump tricks and guiding voices to really make this happen. Overall, this has been my second draft where Clever Lumimancer has shined and it has not disappointed. But keep in mind, if you don't get any guiding voices, Clever Lumimancer is bad. If you do, it's pretty superb. But it's kind of a risky pick here. I think I just like Field Trip as an excellent common, a much more safer pick that allows you to learn and ramp, which is really important since green typically wants to ramp to play their expensive top-end bombs in the late game. But yeah, Field Trip over Agonizing Remorse and Clever Lumimancer. This pack is just not great. I think Prismari Pledge Mage is better than Creative Outburst in the Prismari decks. Don't get me wrong, this is a good card. Like, if you do get to late game with Prismari and you cast, this is quite nice. It's a good 2-for-1, but 7 mana is a lot. And you're mostly like you're just gonna kill 1 creature and draw a card off of this, which, you know, it's not too different from just the Elemental Masterpiece, which is a lot easier to cast and splash. Definitely a solid good card, but you need to already set yourself up in the Prism Army deck with the with enough Pledge Mages on 2 already, enough Heated Debates to deal with the opponent's threats, and Burying Books before you want to take a creative outburst. So still take the Prismari Pledge Mage over Creative Outburst first, since this is just such an amazing 2-drop, good blocker, and also good attacker on turn 2. If you can enable Magecraft, of course, and Overgrown Arch, definitely the pick here. Definitely insane in Witterbloom, especially with Blood Researchers and Alright in Quandrix, and it still learns, which is a very important mechanic in the set. Otherwise, Silverquill Pledge Mage would be the second pick here. Show of Confidence also, again, good in the correct Silverquill deck, and this does fit in the correct theme with the Clever Lumimancer, but if you don't play a bunch of Guiding Voices, it's pretty mediocre and medium. Other than that, it's fine. It's Storm with instances and sorceries. Can be great in the right deck, can be pretty bad in the wrong deck, but overall still a little bit risky here, whereas the Overgrown Arch and Silverquill Pledge Mage are both excellent cards. Spirit Summoning, probably the worst lesson, but still reasonable. But regardless, yeah, we managed to get a nice 7-1, almost 7-0, but we lost, believe it or not, to a mirror match, and we basically destroyed every control deck with this draft, and that does make me happy knowing that Lorehold is definitely playable in this set. So yeah, we managed to explore all colleges now, managed to draft enough Prismari, enough Quandrix, Silverquill, not as much Witterbloom or Lorehold, but as we all know, they're not the best archetypes, but when they come together, they can contest the throne for tier 1 at times, but definitely a lot less consistent to draft and takes a lot more work. But regardless, got to 7 wins. This was a really awesome draft video. Thank you guys for watching, and hope you guys enjoy more Strixhaven content in the future. And in the meantime, take care. Bye.